Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a new report. We have the Store Experience Design report that the PSFK team have put together. And we're excited today to walk through some of the themes in that research, and in particular, talk to experts who are really leading the future of retail and the future of store experience design. I have with me, as usual, I have Lauren Lyons, our lead researcher, senior strategist at PSFK. Hi, Lauren.
Hello, Piers. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about this report.
Yeah, so to really kick off our research here, we started thinking about questions like, what's the role of the store today, right? What does that experience entail? What does it look like? And we really looked across the marketplace and saw there are innovative retailers that are leveraging very future fit technology to create these enhanced blended experiences, but they're also empowering consumers to take greater control of their shopping journey as well. And we also looked into really, the sensory experiences and connections that we find to be inherent to the experience of the physical store in retail, right? That can't really be found anywhere else but that store. And so at every customer experience journey, from product discovery to post-purchase support, the most progressive retailers we found are really connecting with consumers by layering in everything from brand activations, on-demand access to subject matter experts, and then also this element of lifestyle programming as well. And when it came to developing, strategies for us to share about this in-store experience, we looked at how retailers could leverage a framework that's really a continuous cycle of how to update and provide innovation for their shoppers. And so we broke that into three segments. First one was what we're calling a foundational segment. And this is where stores need to adapt to emergency X trends by leveraging everything from technology to streamline, enhance that back end of operations. The second level we were looking at is this engagement segment where stores have to really come forward and support the needs of consumers beyond just items on their shopping list, right? And then on the third, we were calling this, the responsive store. And this is where we're looking at how you can create an ongoing conversation with consumers within the physical space.
That's great. I'm looking forward to kind of unpacking those themes with the experts. Let's take a moment to get introduced to the experts. Val Vacante is an award-winning global innovator. As the VP of Solutions Innovation at Dentsu, she uncovers cultural trends, commerce dynamics, and emerging technologies to shape next-generation product innovations and solutions impacting the way people connect and experience in the physical and digital worlds. Hilary Littleton is the head of marketing of FitMatch, a B2B2C technology platform that enables apparel brands to match their customers with the best-fitting products. The company's patented algorithms derive a shopper's 3D body shape using augmented reality to make personalized product recommendations in hard-to-fit categories. Albert Vita is a home improvement retail expert and founder of Homebirds, focusing on delivery of home improvement items for first-time home buyers. Albert previously led the in-store experience team for the Home Depot, the world's #1 home improvement retailer, and its 2,000 US store locations. Eric Mogill is the Chief Growth Officer and Board Director at Radar. Eric serves on several startup boards, is an advisor to early-stage venture funds, and currently leads growth and ops at Radar, the leading geofencing platform. So welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here. Eric, Hilary, Albert, Val. It's great to have you. Maybe we can start with a little bit of a warm-up. And I'd love to kind of get some input here in terms of how you see the role of the store and kind of what are the priorities when it comes to developing store experience over the next 18, 24 months.
Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in. I loved how Lauren set up the conversation today because I couldn't agree more. I really think the role of the store today is all about experiences. We continue to see the rise of DTC. People can transact anywhere, almost any time of the day, right? If they want a transaction, that can happen. It's really where going to the store for that experience that you can't get anywhere else. is where, where retailers are going to win. So we're looking at things like amplified assistance. How can we create that frictionless experience in store? Entertainment, engaging with people in ways that they can only experience there. I think that's where we're going to see retailers flourish.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree, Val. And on that note, I feel like even going a little deeper is that personalization and keeping it convenient. As we go back into full brick and mortar store mode, I think it's about keeping the sense of convenience for customers top of mind, and also, engaging in immersive and innovative experiences on top of that. I think those are three areas that retailers should really keep top of mind while developing new store concepts, and that goes for in-store and online. And I feel like the desire for these types of experiences is only going to grow stronger and more important to keep those customers loyal.
Yeah, I agree with what both you said, Hillary and Val. I think there was a big debate in the middle of COVID and even towards the end that asked, is this the end of stores? What is the role of stores? And I think what we've even seen now in this post-COVID set of data for retailers is that it was transitory. E-commerce went up, but then it went back down, and people are going back into stores. So I think that shift was not permanent. And when you think about the role of stores, it's for everything they just said. It's a brand and product halo for acquisition. It's a way to engage with customers with highly engaging, personalized experiences, get to know them. They can touch and feel the products. They can see products much easier than scrolling on a website. They can try things on. So there's a halo for acquisition, which is becoming even more relevant because it's gotten harder online to differentiate yourself. Customer acquisition costs have gone way through the roof. And for even D2C brands, you look at Casper, you look at these other D2C retailers that said they would never do physical retail, and they're all opening stores because you have to get that customer. And then on the less sexy side of it, I think stores play a second role in terms of fulfillment nodes. So it's so much cheaper. It's 40% cheaper to ship from store. For retailers, 90% cheaper if a customer picks it up. Target announced a couple months ago that they're shifting 96% of fulfillment from their stores. And so because these stores are closer to customers' homes, not only can they come in, do curbside pickup, et cetera, but it can also ship to them from there.
That's great. Some great data points. Albert, do you have anything to add?
Yes, absolutely. What an exhilarating time to be part of this industry. And certainly, even with the advent and the hyper acceleration of digital, the reality is that the majority of retail sales are still occurring in our physical stores. Now, my background, which happens to be in the DIY, home improvement, and power tools world, and that segment of retail, there's really a couple of perspectives that I have on the role of the store. Taking a step back, there's really three things that are standing out for me. Number one is that the evolving role of the stores, you start with the values. It's almost before you get to store design and store experience and all of the immersive technology we're talking about. I always like to pause, right? Let's talk a little bit about what are the values of the retailer? What's the ethos of that retailer? In other words, if I were to walk in and somehow pull off your logo, the customer should still know, what does this brand stand for and what does it prioritize? I really see the store as the brand's values come to life. Number two is the merchandise. I think a lot of times we talk about retail experience design, and we certainly, rightfully so, we talk a lot about the tech. But for me and in my world, I always start with the product. You start with the merchandise and you start thinking about what are the type of goods that we have, what are some of the goals we have. And in my world, it's critical that we pause and we think to me, there's a big difference between shopping and discovery and buying, right? Because if I'm buying, I'm at Costco or, at my grocery store, I want to be in and out. And there's certain characteristics of that store experience that I think are going to be different than when I'm shopping and I'm ready to be inspired. So I think that the merchandise has a big factor in that. And then thirdly, I'm just a huge believer that in every store environment today needs to be a living learning lab, right? Whether it's how you're connecting with your customers or new technology and new experiences, new merchandise and assortments, but certainly the learning lab components. But as I mentioned before, it's an exhilarating time to be part of the industry now.
That's great. A theme about shopping and buying is a strong one, especially when it comes to the store. And especially as we think about the e-commerce challenges, when e-commerce seems to be more about ordering and buying, and it doesn't have the kind of the discovery or the delight that shopping does. Lauren, I want to go back and talk about one of the themes you were talking about, which is this idea of setting the foundation. And really, we've already started to talk about it by getting the technology and the systems that support a frictionless store experience, whether that's around automation, vending, use of connected systems. What are you seeing in the space?
Yeah, and so I absolutely loved Albert's point about a learning living lab. I think that ties in perfectly with another trend that we're seeing in this space, especially when we think about that foundational layer. And it's this trend we're calling centers of excellence. And what I mean here is really by, to further support both employees, associates on every level. We're seeing how organizations are leveraging very designated test and learn locations or learning labs where they can trial new processes, technology, tools that are all designed to really empower employees, empower customers, increase efficiencies, and really improve that overall in-store experience through those behind the scenes processes. And so by automating these very time-intensive tasks, streamlining customer services, we're seeing that employees are now able to both focus on the customer experience and engagement while in store in a big way. But at the same time, we're seeing how stores are learning all of these really great insights about the customers as they shop as well.
It makes me think about turning to Eric. Eric, consumers have become more confident in kind of the use of technology in the store, but friction points still exist. How can behind the scenes retail tech lend itself to a more exceptional store experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I forget if it was Lauren or Val when speaking about technology and the shopping experience spoke to making it more seamless. And the reason why I love that is oftentimes when you hear about retail tech, you hear about RFID connected digital fitting rooms, different kind of video walls and things like that definitely go to enhance the experience and convey the values. But it really is that behind the scenes technology that makes it easier for them, better for them, smoother for customers to find what they want, experience it, try it on, find the right items that enables a better experience. And so Arthur C. Clarke once said that the best technology is indiscernible from magic. It's not giving them some new tool like AR and scavenger hunt that distracts from the experience. I work at Radar. We're a startup that puts sensors on the ceiling of retail stores that reads where every single product and every single person is in real time. So a customer, if they're using a Uniqlo app or an American Eagle app or a Gap app, could pull up the app, search for the product they want, and see where the product in their exact size is at that moment. So it can take them right to it. Same thing if you're a sales associate picking an order. Things like that are super beneficial because it makes it easier for me when I'm in the store to find exactly what I want, maybe find more items. On the flip side, if the retailer's getting data about what I'm looking at and trying on, maybe 20 people tried on this blouse, but no one bought it. That's a conversion or a fit issue. But maybe, Lauren tried on these 5 things and decided to buy this one. They have a better profile of things that she may want. As Albert said, 80% or more, the majority of sales and retail is happening in store, but there's very little focus on the data and the insights from there versus pulling that from e-commerce and trying to fit that into a full picture. So long story short, I think there's a lot of technologies out there with checkout, with product location, with recommendations that just make it a better experience when you're surrounded by the physical product.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Hillary, I feel like I should turn to you now because talking about creating a greater experience. I feel fit match is something that doesn't try to create something new, but actually tries to improve the existing customer process.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to remind everyone that we are not set out to replace any associates or replace all the magic that goes on between the associate and the customer. We're just providing them tools. We're basically arming them with data-powered tools for a proven elevation in that customer experience in stores. So the shoppers are making more informed purchase decisions about what's suited best for them. So I like to always say having that customer, associate, and technology live in perfect harmony should really be the North Star goal for retailers. For example, at FitMatch, we're building something called the 3D Fit Concierge. So this allows a shopper to engage in LiDAR technology that's actually built in the fitting room walls, complete a body scan all by themselves within seconds, and then giving them that option for an associate to hand deliver those product matches in their recommended size right to their door. So you're still getting that high touch, responsive customer service, but it just makes sense for the here and now. So it goes back to those personalization, convenience, and innovation goals that we really like to stand behind.
Thanks for that, Hilary. I mean, Val, Albert, we've just been talking about services that are improving, sort of kind of invisible processes that are improving existing customer experiences. But from research, we know that shoppers want or would like additional services to the experience, to the retail experience. If you have any thoughts about playful or community or educational experiences that can be added to the store today?
Certainly not limited to the home improvement and DIY sector, but really any of the retail sectors where education is going to be key. But certainly in my world, education is critical. One of the things that is happening certainly in the home improvement space is really an emergence of products that really didn't exist 5-10 years ago, or classic products, refrigerators that will allow you to place online orders while at the fridge, or barbecues that will text you when your meat is that perfect medium rare that you're trying to get it at. These types of items that just weren't part of the assortment, going back 7 to 10 years ago. When we start thinking about education, I always like to break it up into that shopping journey of pre, during, and post visit to the store. Because you take a product like a refrigerator, 80% of our customers are doing some form of online research on refrigerators before they enter that store. So they're armed with a lot of details and facts coming in. So certainly that educational play at the digital level is going to be critical. Now, once you're in that physical environment, it really is this harmony of signage plus associate preparedness, associate training and education, so that they're ready, they're armed with what questions might the customer be coming in, digital experiences in terms of being able to touch and feel and get immersed and learn more about it to make the most educated decision. And then certainly post-visit, right? And post-purchase and post-visit. In my world, when it comes to technology, there's really two things that I think don't get enough attention in the technology world, and that's really around measurement and maintenance. And I think that these two M's are, certainly less sexy than sort of the launch of it, but a lot of the times the measurement around, obviously, hey, did it improve sales? But I think that there's a lot of other ways and a lot of facets to measuring innovative in-store technology. Everything from associate engagement, likelihood to shop again, omni-channel types of benefits. And so I think that the measurement, and then certainly the maintenance, right? I think that a lot of emphasis is placed on day one, but hey, day 60, day 360, right? And it goes down, right? So those are the kinds of questions that come up a lot in my world, certainly.
Eric, Albert was talking about this kind of feedback loop that we have now and technology provides. I think that's something that you folks at Radar have a strong interest and ability with.
Absolutely. I think retail stores today are data deserts. So even though most of the shopping is happening on retail compared to e-commerce, there's very little data aside from what qualitatively sales associates are seeing, or the point of sale is giving you. So on the first hand, you're seeing technology start to unlock that data in many different ways, whether it's associate apps or tools like Radar that are tracking who's coming in, what are they looking at, what path are they taking in the store, so you can optimize all of that. On the flip side, there's an industry change starting to happen with retailers themselves, in that when they get all this data, it's overwhelming. What's actionable? What action should I take? Where do I send that data? How do I integrate that? So we're just starting to see, the buildup of business intelligence teams and data science teams, and even technology providers spoon feeding kind of platforms that let you take those actions for the customer on your e-commerce site or in your apps or in other places. So we're definitely seeing an appetite for that, because you have this real estate of traffic and marketing, and where all your customers are spending most of their time, and you can really create that loop to improve what products you're putting in there, what products you're designing, how you're designing the stores, and even how you're communicating your values and your messaging to your customers. So I'm excited to see more of that into the future.
Super interesting. I mean, Hillary, you must gather a huge amount of data as well, and you must think about how do retailers use this data for personalizing the product, personalizing the experience. Any kind of comments about that, the use of data?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, we work with our brand partners and try to discover the parts of their business that they really need specific data on, that is affecting their bottom line, that they want to see in their growth plans. So, it's $1 million question that we always ask new brand partners, is really, what are these business goals that you need? Are this data that we can provide on? Is it to lessen returns? Is it to create immersive ways for their consumers to engage with the product, and how sticky that really is? Is it bridging that gap between the associate and the customer relationship? Or is it simply incorporating technology into the sales experience? I think this one specifically is a top priority for a large multi-brand retailer that we're onboarding this fall, that really is making it a point company-wide to integrate more data-driven tech tools into that sales experience to see how they can really take their business to the next level. So when it comes to the insights that we can give our brand partners, we really sit down with them and understand what their goals are. But the great thing about Fit Matches is it really is so multifaceted. So every one of those pain points I just described is something that our tools can really help businesses achieve.
Great. Lauren, we've been talking about kind of this engagement level. And I think kind of within your reports, you have this ultimate level, which is about the responsive store. Maybe we can touch upon that.
Absolutely. So, reaching consumers in store with those types of very personalized experiences, moments of information as well, that Eric and Hillary have both touched on here, really queued us up nicely to talk about this idea we've been tracking. We're calling it ambient digital overlay. And we're seeing how both, growing adoption and application of AR technology, how that's being paired with more sophisticated image recognition capabilities, and how those are adding this layer of digital information and interactivity onto the physical world right now, right? And specifically within stores. And we're looking at how, mobile phones, emerging things like wearables and even hearables are really enabling consumers to access this growing range of really metadata about people, places, objects around them, all with, playable content, virtual try-on opportunities, click-to-buy opportunities, you name it. So a really interesting piece here.
Well, there's a lot to think about, and it seems like a very exciting time. I'm going to quickly just turn back to the panel and see if anybody has any final thoughts after listening to the conversation around what retailers and the consumer goods companies within those that are being sold by those retailers should take away from this conversation today.
Here's, I've got one, and certainly just to piggyback on the amazing comments and insights from the conversation today, one of the topics that I think needs more time in the spotlight is the associate, the role of the associate, the experience of the associate, so much of the technology. And I love what Lauren called it, the ambient digital overlay. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, who's training the team? Who's training the team to support this? What if it goes down? Or how does this work? You know, and especially when you have sort of like multi-state or like hundreds or even thousands of locations. So, you know, again, coming from my own retail experience, a formula that I think about a lot is AX oftentimes is greater than CX, right? So obviously in our world, customer is king or queen, right? And so you certainly want to prioritize that customer experience, but taking a moment to pause and say, hey, I'm an associate, I'm working there, this is my full-time job. Right now, what does that mean for me, right? What are the systems to help? Has this made my job more difficult, right? What are those avenues when I need support with some of these digital tech, right? And so I think that we talked about education, certainly, you know, earlier on in the conversation from a customer perspective, but from a store operations perspective, educating your associates, what are all of these systems doing from an employee or an associate perspectives? That lens certainly is one of those topics that I think needs to be pulled forward, you know, versus an afterthought.
Great point, really strong points.
And Albert, I love what you said there about the associate experience. One of the things with our Scan and Know product is we actually start out as a phased approach. So like phase one is getting in the stores and working with those associates, working with the store manager, you know, observing and interacting with customers as well to really see like, hey, if we're having the signage over here, or if we do the setup over there, is that going to cause like a traffic issue? You know, is it going to cause more work or less work for the associates? You know, we all go into these things with good intentions, but really kind of living it and having that dialogue along the way. You know, you cut out all of the bad stuff, right, from the get-go.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, practice, A/B testing is crucial here, especially to your point, Val, about even geographical location in the store, what that means to a customer, and to your point on making sure that these are increasing productivity, increasing sales, like all of those metrics that you really do hope are being met, keeping tabs on them and getting that qualitative feedback from the associates too, I think is key to, you know, incorporate their voice in the matter as well.
Thank you. Lauren, do you have one final comment before we wrap the presentation?
You know, I think just building on everything that this wonderful panel has been saying the last few moments, just thinking about, you know, your favorite in-store experiences, and much like when you're listening to someone present and they obviously have a passion for something, you're so much more engaged, you're so much more like, oh, I want to learn about this. I think that same thing can be applied to that in-store experience and that associate training experience, where it's like, if you have really passionate staff, you have really passionate employees, associates, and they really understand what they're trying to help a customer do or help the brand accomplish, and they're a part of that in a meaningful way, I think that just shines through in a way that, you know, not a lot of people can replicate and would help you stand out as a retailer in a big way.
Well, thank you. Albert, Eric, Hillary, Val, Lauren, I really appreciate your time and support today. I appreciate everybody coming along to the conversation if you're watching live, and even adding to the chat and adding comments as well. And look forward to kind of seeing you at the next event. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.